All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, and of course, we just finished with week 2 of the NFL preseason, so it's only natural that week 3 comes next, and it's only natural that we have another preseason picks video. Excuse me. Like, wipe my mustache. It was like soaked with water. Anyway, so preseason week 3 about to start. We did all right in week 2. We went 9-7, bringing the total up to 19-13 for the so far in the preseason. Again, not the greatest week last week. A lot of like last second finishes and just kind of surprise outcomes. And well, I wasn't really sure who was playing, who wasn't. And we'll see a little bit of that this week, I would imagine. If there are like major team position battles, those teams will see like the starters. We'll see most of the units. A lot of teams might just not play anybody this week just out of fear of like them getting hurt right before the regular season. There's joint practices that kind of alleviate the need for starters to come out in these games. But that probably explains why some of the lines are quite large against some teams, and we'll go over that in the games, and we'll give what we think when we come across those games. So week 3 coming up should be pretty good. All the lines that we use are again from FanDuel. We use FanDuel just as a kind of like an even ground of finding lines, and they don't really like determine how we pick the games. They're just on there as this is what the experts are saying about the games, I guess. Anyway, just gamble responsibly if you do gamble. Thursday night football. Well, Thursday football, I guess there's 2 games, so let's go over the first one. This one's a pretty good one, if it was the regular season. At 8 o'clock Eastern Standard, it's the Packers taking on the Chiefs. Both teams are 1-1. The Packers are coming off a 20-10 win versus the Saints, and the Chiefs are coming off a 24-14 win versus the Commanders. Packers are 3-point favorites with an over-under of 36.5. I would imagine this game we won't really see either team's starters for any of this game, but with the way the Chiefs played against the Commanders backups, they looked pretty solid. I mean, the backup Green Bay defense looked really good against the Saints backups. I don't know. I kind of like the way the Chiefs are built overall as a team. I think they have a little bit better depth on offense, so their backup units are a little bit stronger, seeing as how they were able to do pretty well against the Commanders. And I think even in the first preseason game, they didn't do terribly against the Bears, but the Bears defense is pretty solid. I would say the Bears defense probably a little deeper than the Packers defense, so I don't know. This is in Kansas City, so I give them a little bit of an edge as well. That's pretty much all I got. I mean, the Packers are favored by 3, so I don't know. But again, you probably won't see much out of this game. It's mainly just a backup versus backup game. And again, some of these are going to be a little bit shorter analysis-wise because it's like, well, what are we going to take away from the Packers versus Chiefs, 2 AFC versus NFC, and 2 teams that are probably not playing any starters unless there's like a position battle that I don't know of. So give me the Chiefs at home, I guess. At 8:30, we have a little bit better of a game. We might see something out of the Houston Texans. They might play their starters a little bit. We might see the 49ers do it as well. It's kind of hard to tell, even if it's just for a series or 2, just because for the 49ers, you have all this newness, new quarterback, kind of like trying to get a new offense kind of off the ground and things kind of clicking together. For the Texans, you might, it's the Texans. They have a lot to work out and get going. Both teams are coming off a win. They're both 2-0. The 49ers 17-7, very impressive defensive win. The Texans won 24-20, and it kind of like who can score last game against the Rams. 49ers are favored by 3 with an over-under of 41.5, and I kind of like the 49ers to win this game as well, mainly because I've been impressed with what they've done on defense. Against the Vikings, 17-7. Sure, it's the backup units, but that's pretty much what we're going to see in this game. So it's the backup 49ers versus the backup Texans. I don't know if the starting Texans unit is going to be like super competitive with a team like the 49ers. So I can't imagine what the Texans backups are going to look like against the 49ers decent depth chart. That's why I like the Niners. I think they're just a better team, better coached. They seem to be taking the preseason with some kind of seriousness. So give me the Niners over the Texans in what could be a pretty good game. Friday football. Again, I know this analysis sucks. By week 2 or 3 of the regular season, we'll have actual things to discuss and like things to say about each matchup. Friday football, we have a 7 o'clock Eastern Standard game. It's the Bills taking on the Panthers. Bills are 2-0. The Panthers are 1-1. Bills just absolutely demolished the Broncos 42-15, and the Panthers lost their game 20-10 to the Patriots, as you can see by the score there. If a team lost, I put the losing score first just to kind of like make it easier on myself to remember who won or lost. The Panthers are favored by 6 with an over-under of 42. I wouldn't assume that the Panthers are going to lose this or win this game. The backup Patriots defense absolutely dominated this game to the point where the Panthers had under 200 yards of offense and 4 turnovers against the backup Patriots. And meanwhile, the Bills, even with their backup units in, scored 42 points. I think Allen had 1 touchdown drive, and then the rest of the team came out and scored 35 points. I'm going to take the Bills in this one because, again, the Panthers aren't a bad defense, so I lowered the score a little bit. But, holy moly. That was a beating the Bills had. Someone's going to have to beat the Bills for me to be able to believe they'll lose a game. 42-15 is an absolute gobsmack. That is a mollywhopping in a preseason game. The Bills aren't playing around this season. They're showing it. They're like, hey, man, we're all business this season, even in the preseason. Every game's going to be like this. It's oh, boy. Good luck with the Bills this year. I hate that my team's got to play them twice. 8 o'clock Eastern Standard. Let's go on to the next game. The Seattle Seahawks, who are 0-2, and the Dallas Cowboys will play one another. The Cowboys are 1-1. The Seahawks lost 27-11 against the Bears. Cowboys kind of got it together, stopped committing so many penalties, and won 32-18 on some special teams play. The Seahawks are favored by 3 with an over-under of 40. Even if the Cowboys starters don't play, I don't know why the game's hey, what happens when the Seahawks backups come in and they win this game? It's I don't know. The Seahawks backups lost 27-11 to the Chicago Bears, who are projected to be one of the worst offenses in the league. Potentially, we don't really know right now. They could be really good. It's just we don't know. I doubt it though. Regarding the Cowboys though, they looked really solid. Their special team seems to be a menace this year. That kick returner they got did really, really good against the Chargers. And then you've got the Seahawks, who just looked bad against the Bears. They made the Bears look like a very competent team. It's really hard to say the Bears look bad when they're 2-0 in the preseason, and they've won pretty good. But again, Lions went 4-0 in the year they lost every game. Either way, the Seahawks, it didn't look, they just look very unimpressive. Cowboys look like the Cowboys, and even if the Cowboys backups come in, I have way more faith in them than what I seen out of Seattle's backups last week. Oof. 8 o'clock Eastern. Again, sorry for Seattle fans. This is going to be a rough year for Seattle fans. And, maybe you guys will be fine in 2 years. But this year, rough year coming. Oof. 8 o'clock Eastern Standard, we'll have the Chargers taking on the Saints. Both teams are 0-2 and had kind of rough preseasons. As we just talked about, the Chargers lost 32-18 to the Cowboys. And the Saints lost 20-10 to the Packers, of course. The Saints are favored by 3 with an over-under at 36.5. The Chargers kind of just seem like a mess with the backups. They have very good starters and very, very good starters across the board. But once you start looking at that depth chart, it's oh boy, this isn't good at all. And we've seen that in almost repeat scores. I think they lost in a very similar fashion to the Rams. Then they lost by this score, giving up multiple. Bad special teams play. So when I look at this, I'm man, I don't know. The Chargers backups aren't very good. Their depth on that team isn't very good. And we've seen that in the 2 preseason games they've lost. Whereas with the Saints, they just, I don't know if they're not trying, if they're trying to avoid injury. I don't know. But something's got to give. I almost just made a tie in this game. I was so close just going, it's a tie. I don't know who's going to win. I'll take the L if it's not a tie. But I don't know. The Saints are the home team, so I always tend to go with the home team when I don't know. But again, the Chargers, more or less, I think the Chargers have looked worse than the Saints, especially defensively. So that's why I'm going to go with the Saints to kind of get it together this game, because the Chargers defense, the second team defense, doesn't look as good, or third team. This is a game that probably everyone's going to disagree with me on, and I actually had the Raiders winning in this, but then I went, fuck the Raiders, and I went with the Patriots. 8:15 Eastern Standard, it'll be the Patriots taking on the Raiders. The Patriots are 1-1 off a 20-10 win versus the Panthers, and the Raiders are a preseason juggernaut this year, going 3-0 with a 15-13 win against the Dolphins. Raiders are favored by 1.5 with an over-under of 37.5. I guess the main thing I'm thinking here is the Patriots have looked decent with their second team and third team offense. And with the way that they just performed with the second and third team defense, holding the Panthers to 10 points and under 200 yards of offense and 4 takeaways, I'm wondering what happens if the Raiders play their backups and so do the Patriots. That Patriots second team and third team defense is gnarly. And I'm wondering if the Raiders, who haven't they've played what the Jaguars, Vikings, and the Dolphins, like the backups of these teams. I don't think those three teams, maybe save the Dolphins, have exactly what the Patriots have in terms of depth on defense, and this could be quite the situation. Now, if this is a regular season game, I might pick the Raiders simply because of like former coordinators, longtime coordinators seem to have Belichick's number. But again, Belichick has also beat McDaniel. It's kind of like this weird, I don't know. If it was a regular season game, a little bit easier to figure. But here, I really like the Patriots' depth on defense versus the Raiders, what I've seen from them. Again, their offenses look good, but what they've been playing the Jaguars and the Vikings backup defenses, and then against the Raiders, they get held to, or against the Dolphins secondary, they get held to 15. Dolphins offense isn't as strong as those other two teams, or well, probably stronger than the Jaguars, not as strong as Minnesota, especially the secondary for the Dolphins. So it's like, I don't think the Raiders have played a team as good as the Patriots could be with their second strings. That's mainly my decision here, I guess. Again, I did have the Raiders winning initially, so this is kind of like a on-the-fly decision. All right, this is the long part. I'm not really going to say anything about this game. 3 o'clock Eastern Standard, the Jaguars play the Falcons. Falcons are 3-point favorites with an over-under of 36.5. I have the Falcons winning because the Jaguars have looked absolutely terrible this fall, and the Falcons have looked pretty good, and there might be a quarterback battle. I'm not really certain. At 6 o'clock Eastern Standard, we have the Los Angeles Rams playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Rams are 1-1. Bengals are 0-2. Both teams lost their games. 24-20 to the Texans. The Rams lost, and 25-22 to the Giants. The Bengals lost. This is a former offensive coordinator taking on his old guy, Zach Taylor versus Sean McVay. Bengals 2.5-point favorites with an over/under of 37.5. I don't know. I don't really like. I almost picked the tie in this game because it's like, well, these two teams probably know how each other think, operate, breathe, move. It's a Super Bowl rematch. It's kind of got that coolness to it. Maybe the Rams or the Bengals are going to try a little harder in the second, with the second, third team, especially with the close loss to the Giants. I don't know. These are two teams that probably just don't want to get hurt heading into the regular season. So this could be a pretty boring game, but it is kind of a cool Super Bowl rematch. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It'll be the Washington Commanders taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens, of course, are 2-0 and 22-0 in their last 22 preseason games. And the Commanders are 0-2 off a 24-14 loss to the Chiefs. I'm picking the Ravens to win this game on the simple fact that they just don't lose in the preseason. And the Commanders haven't looked good at all this entire preseason. They've meandered on offense, and the defense has been, the second string defense has been getting beat up. They'll be a good defensive team when the regular season starts, but we're not at the regular season. This is the Ravens' domain, the preseason. This is where they're the champions, and it's their world. We're just living in their preseason world. We're just NPCs in their existence on that one. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard, arguably the best game of the weekend. It'll be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Miami Dolphins. Both teams are 1-1. Dolphins are favored by 2.5 with an over/under of 38. The Eagles have looked all right. They beat the Browns 21-20. The Raiders beat the Dolphins 15-13, so the Dolphins coming off a loss. I won't imagine we'll see starters in this game, but if Gardner Minshew is still an Eagle, I kind of like that. That's basically all I got in this game because, again, neither team's probably playing starters in this one to avoid injury. Why would you want Tua or Jalen to get hurt, or your star receivers, or your defense that's pretty solid but like pretty thin? So I don't know. I just think the Eagles got a little bit better depth, especially since we've seen what Miami's offense kind of looks, the backup teams look like. I mean, they have a decent defense depth-wise, but offensively that wasn't very good. So, again, hold on. So, give me the Eagles 2017. I don't really have a lot of analysis for some of these games. I have very low interest in some of these, like this one. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard, the Chicago Bears take on the Cleveland Browns. The Bears are 2-0 with a 27-11 win against the Seahawks. Browns are 1-1 with a last-second loss to the Eagles, 21-20. Browns are favored by 4.5 with an over/under of 38.5. Yeah, I kind of agree with this. Part of the reason the Seahawks lost that game is because there's just nothing there. They're very thin in terms of what kind of talent they do have, and I can't imagine what the second and third teams of the Seahawks teams look like. Now you're facing the Browns, who have one of the better rosters in the NFL, very, very good depth, minus the quarterback position. They're pretty solid across the board. They're going to be home. They're better coached. They're just a more solid football team outside of the quarterback position. So give me the Browns in this one pretty confidently. They're just just a better team. The Cardinals take on the Titans. Both teams are 1-1. The Titans are 3-point favorites with an over/under of 38.5. Again, this one's one of those games where I'm like, yeah, if the starters were playing, I might go with the Cardinals. But this is two backup teams. Tennessee, of course, has that kind of crazy depth where they can use 90 different players in a season and still be one of the top seeds in the AFC. And then you've got the Cardinals, who won't be playing starters and seem to just be trying to get through the preseason, especially after last week. Through the preseason, let Kyler do a little bit of play calling and just have a little bit of fun. Mainly avoid injury and get to the regular season. It's kind of what we're seeing with a lot of these teams. Probably both of these teams, actually, based on last year. I don't know. I like the home team usually in games I can't decide. No Brady, no way Tampa's winning, so I got the Colts winning 20-14. The Buccaneers have looked absolutely abysmal this preseason, going 0-2. This is all I'm adding for this game. This game is skippable in my opinion. If Brady isn't playing, no reason to even tune in. This isn't what the Bucs are going to look like in the regular season. Neither really will it be the Colts, especially if Matt Ryan doesn't play, which he probably won't. Colts are home. They're favored, and so I'd go with the Colts in this one. I have them winning 20-14. Again, no Brady. They lost 13-3 to the Titans backups. They've looked very uncompetitive the whole thing so far. We've got 3 games left after this one, so we've got 2 on Sunday. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, it'll be the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Denver Broncos. Vikings are 1.5-point favorites with an over-under of 38.5. I'm stunned that I don't have the Vikings winning this game, and I almost picked them to break up the home monotony. But I think the Broncos are going to try to play a little bit better than they did against the Bills there, where they lost 42-15. I like them at home. I haven't really liked what I've seen out of the Vikings. They're 0-2. Again, they seem to have adopted that Rams mentality of just get through the preseason without injuries, just try to get timing down, and things will kind of work themselves out, right? They just put up 7 points against the 49ers, maybe unless their offense is really just bad, which I don't think it is. Maybe the depth is bad, but I don't know. This was a hard one to call. I just went with the home. I don't know. I'm so glad the preseason's ending. That's all I have to say. The Battle of New York. Both teams are 2-0. It's the Giants versus the Jets. I went with the Giants winning because I don't like the Jets. 24-21. Yeah, by the way, this is the level of analysis I basically threw into these last games. And I'm sorry, Lions fans. 4:30 p.m., I have the Lions and Steelers closing out the preseason. Unfortunately, I have to go with the Steelers winning this game because I still think that there's this weird quarterback competition going on between Paquette and Trubisky. And we all know what Mitch Trubisky does when he happens to play the Detroit Lions. This man turns into Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, all formed into one super mega mind quarterback. Literally, if you go look at Trubisky's numbers, the thing that was keeping him as a starter and in the league for so long and so rough is basically when he'd play the Lions, all his good numbers came against us, and then maybe one other team. So the Lions, unfortunately, have to play Mitch Trubisky again for a final time at some point in this game. And the Lions don't really have many position battles going on, so I don't really see them trying. They're just mail it in, let the Steelers try and work out who their starters are. That's probably part of the reason why the Steelers have a huge line here at 4.5. Don't expect much out of the Lions. If maybe the backups will try because they're trying to have maybe a tiny battle between Blau and Boyle for the backup role. But again, it's nothing like the Steelers, who might be playing starters for a little while in this game, especially since, who knows who's the starter. So yeah, give me the Steelers because they got a lot more riding on this than the Lions do. All right, we'll see how we do in picks this week. Hopefully we do better than 9-7, and maybe we'll go 11-5 or something. Really see the improvement. Or we'll get them all wrong this week, and it'll be one of the worst ones yet. That'd be very embarrassing. All right, we're under 20 minutes getting this one in. This is pretty impressive. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it very much. That's the end of the preseason picks videos, so we'll go without one for a week, and then week 1. Let's see. I think there's no games next week. And then the games start that way. So on the 6th is when the first preseason, the regular season picks video will be uploaded. So make sure you tune that in. Thank you to everyone who's watched these videos. They've done pretty good. A couple thousand views on each of them, which is pretty good for preseason picks. Thank you so much. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like, which you've been doing. I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here for a full season of NFL picks videos. And yeah, make sure you leave your picks down below in the comment section. And last but not least, make sure you leave them down there so I know how to comment on them. Make sure I know how to get back in touch with you. You know, just how are you excited for the regular season? We have a lot to think about and get ready for as we approach the regular season. After the final game on Sunday, there will be a bunch of prediction videos coming out, a bunch of predictions for who does what, how the AFC plays out, how the NFC plays out, awards predictions, random predictions. Like, hey, is this stat going to get broken? Like the year I predicted Michael Thomas would break the receptions record. Those kind of predictions will be coming soon. And yeah, thank you guys so much. It was a fun preseason. Let's see how this picks video turns out again. Leave a like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and please make sure to comment. That's the most important one. I like reading what people think about the video, and I like reading and commenting back about what your picks are. And yeah, get it? Toy Story, Pixar. Anyway, yeah, that's it. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you when I see you next. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whenever you give this a listen. Yeah, that's it. All right, bye-bye. Have a great rest of your day. And yeah, week 1 coming in a couple weeks. Bye-bye. Ooh.